So let's talk about content and strategy. There are a few questions that I recurrently get around things like these, which are questions that ChatGPT just gave me, and I've heard over and over again when it comes to content, strategy, and brands. Usually, people start with content. Brands, people, products, they start with we want to create content. We want to communicate our business, our ideas, our products, our launches, our roadmap, and so on. And people have this idea that they want to create content and that they will be able to create content that resonates and that people are interested in just by posting consistently. And this is something that has been shared and said over and over, that if you post consistently, you will see results. But there's something more important than posting consistently that a very few people actually do. And those few people and brands that do this are able to build brands over time, brands that resonate with people, that connect with people, and that actually create equity that has some results. So we're going to talk about how you can build those types of brands. So first of all, let's go through some of these questions. So some of these questions that I get more often than not are: how do you build a brand that people actually remember? What makes viewers trust a creator enough to buy from them? Why are small creators posting nonstop but still not growing? What's the difference between content that gets views and content that builds a career? And finally, why do so many creators look and sound exactly the same? So let me go through the last question first. Why do so many creators look and sound exactly the same? And I think that the answer is in the question. They look and sound exactly the same because they're doing the exact same things that everyone else is doing. There's no authenticity, no originality. They are just doing what everyone else in the industry is doing. One of the reasons for doing what everyone else is doing is because A, it's easy, and B, it's proven. If you take the top performer in terms of content in your niche, in your industry, in your whatever, in your space, and you try to replicate what they have done, you kind of feel as if you will get some success because their formula, their way of creating content, what they're doing is already proven. Now, it's proven to work for them and for their industry, which might also be your industry, but what you might be overlooking is a back end of that strategy. You're looking at the content, you're looking at the front end, and you're thinking, if I replicate that, then I can get some results. And that might be something that leads you to get no results at all because you're overlooking the most important thing, which is the back end. You are not taking a look at all at strategy. You're starting with content first, and when you start with content first, you achieve absolutely nothing. So when you are doing the content first approach and you're not taking the time to actually build a strategy, to craft a strategy, you will get to a point where you've invested so much time and effort into content that does not convert. You may have views. I'm not saying that you won't have views, you won't have interactions, but you won't have the asset that you need. The asset that you need for people to buy from you and to consume from you and to actually pay attention to you and listen to what you have to say. You may have eyeballs, but you won't have this crucial asset that gets you conversions. So that leads me to the fourth question, which is, what's the difference between content that gets views and content that builds a career? So content that gets views, easy. You can post a video that can go viral tomorrow. You do have to know some of the principles to create content and to hold attention, but overall, creating a piece of content that can go viral tomorrow is easier than building content that can build your career. Because building content that can build a career or creating content that can build a career needs to have this one thing that's essential. This one thing that's the currency, this one thing that will get you leads, conversions, purchase behavior, and all of that. And viral content doesn't have that one thing. It usually doesn't have that one thing. You can get many views with entertaining content. So usually a piece of content that entertains the audience will get much more views than educational content. Reason being, entertainment is something that loads of people want. You want it to be entertained, you want something that has some emotion, that has some humor, that makes you laugh, and so on. That's the reason why there's so many videos on YouTube and so many videos online that have millions of views, and you watch the video and it's something funny, because people want to be entertained. They don't want to get bored. Now, educational content requires people to do a whole set of things. For one, they need to listen and to pay attention, and then they need to trust you enough to take action on what you're saying. And then once they take action, they want to see results. And only if they get results from the actions that you suggested will they come back. If they don't get results from your content, from your suggestions, from what you recommended, they'll just assume this person doesn't really know what they're talking about. And if you don't have this one thing, this one asset that I've been talking about, they will rarely come back. So I will give you an example. There is this German guy who I will not mention, but he is a genius when it comes to marketing funnels. A genius. And every single time he speaks, I trust what he's saying because he has loads of credibility. He has years and years and years of experience. And that experience, that credibility, those results that he has had for his clients make me trust what he is saying. So when I have heard his content and I have implemented some of the things that he mentions, and then I have not gained any results from that, I go back to his content because I know that I must have done something wrong. Maybe I missed a very important point or whatnot. But because he has so much credibility, because I trust what he says so much, I don't assume that what he said, what he proposed, what he suggested was wrong. I assumed that when I executed, when I tried to implement that, I missed a crucial point. So if you want content that builds a career, if you want content that builds a brand, you need this one thing, which is trust. You need your audience to trust what you're saying. And to gain trust, you need to do several things. One of them, you need to have credibility. You can't just show up and say, I'm the expert in A, B, C, and D, and have nothing, absolutely nothing to back up those statements. Do you have some experience in that space? Do you have years of giving results to your clients? What are those things that give you credibility? And then the other thing that you want to have is consistency. If you show up today and I'm looking at your content, I'm trusting what you say because you have some credibility, but then I come back tomorrow and you are not there anymore, you've lost my attention. I want to be able to reference someone or to gain value from someone who will be there consistently. I don't want an expert to show up for 2 months and then disappear forever. I'd rather you show up once a month, if that's all you're able to do, than for you to show up 5 times per week and then after 2 months you disappear. So you need to have consistency, but you also need credibility. If you have consistency but no credibility, I'm not going to pay attention to what you have to say, and I'm obviously not going to implement any of it. I'm obviously not going to execute on it. You're not going to have my trust. So, big difference in how you create those pieces of content. In one of them, you want short-term results, you want to entertain people, you want to hold attention for a very short amount of time. And in the other content, you want to play for long term. You want something that will give you results, not only give results to you as the expert, as a professional, as a content creator, you want to give something to your audience that will help them gain results. Because if you share something with them that allows them to be successful, they will come back. Now let's talk about the third question, which is why are small creators posting nonstop but still not growing? Okay, so posting nonstop, you have part of the recipe, you have part of the formula, which is you need to show up consistently. But posting nonstop and doing exactly the same thing post after post is not going to get you growth. Growth doesn't happen just because you show up consistently. There's something else. One of those things is trust, but then another one of those things that you need to be doing is improving. And the only way in which you can improve is if you listen to your audience. If you pay attention to what they want, to the questions they're asking, to the concerns they have, to why they're even showing up in the first place. Like, what's the value that they want to gain? What's that lesson that they want to hear? What's that problem that they need to solve? So if you listen to your audience first, if you pay attention to them, they will show up because they know that what you're going to share is actually going to be valuable for them. And they will be able to take action on that and solve the problem that they have. But if you're just showing up in an outbound approach, meaning you only put out content consistently and you're throwing content in your audience's face and you're not listening to them, you don't care about what they have to say, what questions they have, what concerns they have, what they need, they're going to stop showing up. So that's an easy fix. Listen to your audience. So on to question number 2, which is what makes viewers trust a creator enough to buy from them? So again, with the topic of trust and consistency. I'm not going to buy from a creator, and no one's going to buy from a creator the first time that they see them. So you need to show up consistently so that you build that trust with your audience over time, and that trust over time will enable you to A, understand their problems, and B, propose a solution for those problems. So if you just show up and say, I have this solution, I have this coffee, and that's the solution to your problem, guess what? The audience won't listen if you didn't first understand their problem. What if they don't like coffee? What if they don't care about coffee? You need to first understand their problems, their concerns, and then show up with a solution for that. And you don't show up first asking for a transaction. You show up first bringing value. After you've brought a ton of value to your audience, you will have their trust, and so the purchase or the action will become inevitable. But you don't show up the first time asking for their wallet. And finally, the first question is, how do you build a brand that people actually remember? And again, the answer is in the question. The keyword there is build brand. People go directly to creating content and putting content out there, and they're not intentionally or consistently making an effort to build a brand. If you actually want to build a brand, you need to put together or pair consistently and intentionally a set of things that build brand over time. You don't just show up. How do you build a brand people actually remember? So first of all, you need to create something that's memorable, something that connects, something that resonates. And one of the main things that resonates and connect with others is people. People buy from people, people connect with people. They don't want you to show up as this corporate brand or as this very aspirational but not relatable figure. So if you want to connect with people, if you want to resonate with them, you need to have an emotional connection with them that makes you memorable. If you want to create something memorable, do something different. Don't do what everyone else is doing. Don't show up how everyone else is showing up. And don't be boring. Bring in your personality, bring in yourself, bring something that allows people to connect with you. A super corporate brand does not connect with people. A super aspirational but not relatable person does not create a lasting connection. You want to have a balance between whatever it is that you're doing, whatever it is that you're sharing, and making sure that it is relatable in some way, that it can generate some level of connection, and that it is valuable for people. You don't want to create 5 hours of content that no one cares about. It's better if you create memorable minutes. Minutes where you can actually hold people's attention, where you're actually bringing value, and where you're actually sharing something that leaves people wanting more.